have a statistic to prove anything. And my thing now is, and this is what I became interested in, is like this is why I started with RFK Jr. Everyone has all the stats. And then they give stats so forcefully that you believe them. Like, well, that sounds fucking thing. And there's stats about this and there's stats about that. And all the stats are bad.
Yeah.
There's no good stats.
There's no good stats.
So,
well, there's a good stat in terms of if you look at society in comparison to society of 200 years ago, it's safer.
That's Elon Musk, yeah.
Yeah, people
He's like, if you look at
are
it,
kinder. People are way more. It's
educated,
way more
healthy.
educated. We understand things more.
Yeah, and like if you look at the sort of coefficient of hundreds of years ago, Elon brought that up, and I remember looking at that going, oh yeah, fuck, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Which is when I got into the Carl Sagan shit of, we're actually living in the greatest fucking window of all time. Where's the fucking anxiety coming from? And I don't know who said this, but I think it was, I don't know who said this, but work satisfies need, desire, and sanity. Like you need to work to like for food.
Yeah.
Desire because happiness is going forward. Right?
Yes.
And then sanity is if you don't fucking work, you go crazy.
This is my fear with universal basic income, which I think is inevitable.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
It's inevitable. Yeah, I think that's the only way we're going to be able to keep people alive. And
100%.
My fear is that we're going to have too much control over those people if we do that, and those people will have no purpose, and we'll have an even more disenfranchised population than we have today. And the haves and the have-nots will be even further and further apart. And there's no real education that is in school today where you take a child and you say, hey, look, the world is going to change and most of these jobs are going to be useless. You're going to have to find something that you love that resonates with people.
Yeah.
And if you do that, people are going to be willing to exchange that for money.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. If you can make
ceramics.
Like this table, a guy named Drew made this table. I know the man who made it. He is a carpenter. He made a table out of wood. We gave him the specifications. I told him I like oak. Yeah. You're like, this is a handmade thing. And a handmade thing is always, to me, is going to be very valuable. Yeah. I love a handmade knife.
Yes.
I love things that someone worked on.
Yeah.
I love a painting that someone, like my friend Taylor made this. He painted it.
Yeah.
He sat down in his studio, he painted it. And I love that. That's always going to be valuable. Yeah. The problem is most people have never been encouraged to pursue their interest. They've been encouraged to get a job and get a safe job. And they probably don't even know what their interests are or how those interests could translate.
Or they've been stifled. Yeah.
Right. They've been stifled.
Well, you're exactly right. So actually, when I was spending a lot of time in Silicon Valley, there was a lot of this talk, and they're talking about universal, living wage or basic wage. And I was like, what are you fucking talking about? You're going to give everyone $100,000?
Right.
And they're like, well, the synthesis of AI is all human endeavor done by machines. I'm like, wow, come on. So I was kind of the skeptic, This is 10 years ago, and now all of this shit has come true. They were already thinking about this back then because they're also saying exactly what you said, which is, let's say quantum computing happens and AI at the same time, which is probably 3 years away. One quantum computer has enough computing power than all the existing computers in the world today, right? And then you add AI to that. So there's a whole new fucking tech revolution where it becomes even more rich people who own shit and even more. Right. So they're like, unless you take care of those people, they're going to come, because we're the nerds, they're going to come with the hammers, and the currency is going to be bullets. It's not going to be chips. And so it's Planet of the Apes. You got fucking, people on one side here and the big brains on the other side. And you're like, oh, they already knew this. They were already thinking this because they're like, we're going to buy them off. But people are going to go crazy if you buy them off.
Yeah, it's not necessarily buy them off. It's keep them alive.
Yeah, keep them alive. Okay.
Because people are not going to have any fucking money.
And buy them off because they're afraid that they're going to come take their shit.
I don't think we should look at it that way. I think there's got to be a concerted effort to educate people about the possibilities of their life on Earth. That they've been indoctrinated to think that they have to be a worker. How many of these people are out there that are doing masonry work really want to be a painter? How many of those people that really wanted to be in a band? How many of these people... There's something probably that most people want to do.
Yeah.
One thing the universal basic income will do is if you give everybody $100,000 a year, whatever it is, you're going to satisfy they're not going to worry about rent. They're not going to worry about food.
Yeah.
So now maybe they can pursue. The problem is people get fucking lazy when you give them free money. It's just a fact.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
It's not everybody.
Yeah.
But a lot of people.
Yeah.
They just exist and they'll just play video games all day. And you know, look, if we're going to deal with a society where everything is run by AI and automated, that you're going to have to give people money, because the extraordinary wealth that's going to be generated by AI is going to make that not that difficult to do, especially when you consider how much money we give to other countries already.
100%.
Right? Over the last couple of years, we've given how many $billion to Ukraine? I think it's up to 200 billion now.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
That amount of money, when you're dealing with AI, when you're dealing with automation, just to keep people fed and housed, like, that's reasonable. But you're going to have to figure out a way to give people purpose.
Yes.
And that's going to have to be a revamping of the education system.
That's exactly right. It's a revamping of the education system, because you're saying, well, all of these, we were, and this is another great thing on Gen X, but we were built to be workers. You're supposed to get universal education is supposed to just be enough so you can be a good worker and a good taxpayer, and you get a job, and then, by the way, you get out of college and you already have debt. Then you buy a consumer durable, you buy a fucking car, you buy a washing machine, and that's, we'll give everybody that, but we give you debt, and then you buy a house, and then you're in debt, and then you finally get out of debt, and then you die.
Right.
And so you just work. And by the way, you're exactly right. You had to get a job. J-O-B, not F-U-N. It's just you go and you do it, and you give you money, and
and you become an adult.
That's it.
Yeah, and then
but that's not true, because all of this human endeavor is now going to be done by machines. And you're like, okay, now what do you got? And I agree 100%. It's going to be something that we can't even fathom, which is, what do you really like to do?
Right.
What do you love doing? By the way, building a table